This video contains content that may be confronting.
Well, the Catholic Church is making headlines across the globe at the moment with the death of Pope Francis and as the world waits for a new pope. But sexual abuse survivors are faced with news content which could be extremely troubling and triggering. Let's look more at this and bring in survivor and board member for the Good Faith Foundation, Richard Jabara. Good morning to you, Richard.
Good morning.
Thanks for speaking to us about this important issue.
Thank you.
This news, as we've just mentioned, can be quite emotional for survivors here in Australia and around the world. For you, how has it landed?
Well, actually, I was just watching the vision of your the news just now in the Vatican and seeing the images of the priests dressed in their regalia and so forth does bring back memories. For me, it's triggering for me, and I think it's triggering also for other survivors of what's happened to them because they see those images. It brings back the memories, and unfortunately for survivors, you never forget, and it's a lifelong thing that you feel and think about. But also, I think it's important to, if I could share with the public the extent of the abuse. And the Royal Commission, I think people forget, the Royal Commission uncovered that 7% of Australian Catholic priests were pedophiles. And in some of the orders, the extent is even higher. For the St. John of God brothers, 40% were pedophiles. Maris brothers, 20%, Christian brothers, 20%. So the extent is quite significant. So there are a lot of people who were affected. The other thing also is the Commission found that 6 out of 7 still haven't come forward. So there's still a lot of people out there that haven't come forward. It takes time for people to come forward, generally around between 25 to 30 years that people come through. So if they're watching this broadcast and they've seen these images and it is distressing for them, there is help. And that's why I appreciate coming in and telling you that.
Yeah, they'd be suffering in silence right now.
I wanted to ask that. I mean, if this is triggering, a lot of people will be thinking, no, I'm just going to keep my head down, but you wanted to come on here and speak out. Why? What message are you hoping to send to survivors?
Okay, so for me and for others, we forget about it. We don't want to know about it, put it in the past. It happened, and try to forget it. But unfortunately, as I said, around 25 to 30 years, it bubbles up. For some people, it's quite serious. It could be suicide ideation, or alcohol abuse or drug abuse or something to try to deaden the pain. And unfortunately, you have to deal with it. So you try to forget about it, but it does bubble up. So, and usually these kind of events, seeing this sort of thing like the Pope with all the images, it brings it back up. And so we want people to know that there are people out there to help. There is people who will understand what you've been through, because it is a specific thing that you've been through, the damage that it's caused. And I think also I'd like to also share with the public, the Vatican there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Pope Francis, sorry if you want to ask a question, but Pope Francis did something, but the Vatican has still got a lot of information. When the Royal Commission asked the Vatican, could you please supply the information? Their response was, well, it's impossible and actually not appropriate. That was their response.
So there's been a big lack of transparency. I think that was revealed at the big summit called by Pope Francis a few years ago. You, no doubt, understandably have a complicated relationship now with organised religion, as many survivors would. How do you recognise your faith, which is a personal thing for people, with what's happened to you, Richard?
It's a very difficult thing. It's a good question. Because abuse is bad, no matter what happens. But when it's by a person in authority, particularly a priest, that's where it's really damaging. Because this is a person who, I grew up believing that a priest could turn the wine into the blood of Christ, a piece of bread into the body of Christ. This is this person. So when that person abuses you, it's not just the abuse, it's also the church, and so the spirituality, everything. And for me, it's difficult. I love going to the church. I went every Sunday. I can't go. And for me, it's triggering to go. So it is very difficult for people who've been abused by an authority figure, but specifically for the church. And it's very complicated. So it's a long process to come back for your spirituality.
Just before we let you go, I'm conscious that you talking about this might also be difficult for people who are watching this morning. So what support is available for people who are survivors?
Thank you. So our organisation and others We get funding from the Australian government and the state government, as well as generous private donors. We can provide emotional counselling and support. If they go to our website, igff.org.au, or call 1300 12 IGFF or 1300 12 3344. We can get you in touch with counsellors who will understand it and also help you with the process if you wish to provide financial support, which is the government redress scheme, or through civil litigation.
Richard Jabara, thank you very much for coming on the program. I know it's going to mean a great deal to people at home who might be suffering in silence.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.